Hi, my name is Sky, and I'm the orchard manager at the UCSC Farm.
And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about summer pruning apple and pear trees. So it's just important to know in general, not to cut too much just right off the bat until you understand some principles. Very basically, whenever you make a cut in winter, when there's no leaves, when it's dormant, it's invigorating. It's like stepping on the gas, saying grow, grow. And when you make a cut in summer, it's stopping, shortening, put on the brakes. That's just the basic foundation to know. So basically we have a young apple tree here, and these are the main branches, the lead branches. And we don't want to cut those in summer because we want this tree to grow. So what we're focusing on mostly in summer with our summer pruning cuts are what are called laterals. So these little flatter, smaller, thinner, shorter branches that come off of our main branches, and we're shortening those. So here we have a lateral branch. It's flat, it is not as vigorous, so upright growth is vigorous. Flatter growth is just naturally going to turn into fruit wood. So what we're doing this summer is, this is a little too long, because if we let it fruit out here, if you imagine an apple out here, it's going to sag, it might break. So what we do is just come in and we shorten it. So one of the effects of making a heading cut, a shortening cut like this in summer, is that it obviously shortens the branch. And then another thing is that it helps the branch that you cut get a little thicker and stronger. So what we expect is for this fall and winter, for this branch to get a little stronger. And then also all of these buds, so at every leaf there's a little bud. You can see on first year, 1-year-old wood, there's these little buds. These, we hope with this cut, another thing, a response is that some of these are gonna turn into fruit buds. So they're gonna flower next spring, and then we'll have fruit next year. So I just wanted to show you a little bit more about the distinction between vegetative buds and fruit buds. And this is particularly on apples, also pears. They look a little different, but if you have apple trees, this will be totally relevant. So as I mentioned before, growth that is upright is more vigorous, and that just means it's going to be a branch. And then branches that are naturally flatter and weaker are naturally prone to producing more fruit. But what's cool is you can manipulate the branches to sort of make them have different reactions based on sunlight and internal hormones and the physiology. So I wanted to show you a branch that was pretty vigorous that we trained down last year that has produced fruit buds. So this is a pretty thick caliper branch, and it was probably something like this when it was a year old. But we tied it down with, you can use a weight or a string to make it flat, which basically sends a message to the branch, to the tree, that this does not have the potential to grow into a branch. So it's sort of like, you know what? It's just not going to happen. So do something else, you know? So then the tree is like, well, I guess I'll fruit. And so that's exactly what happens. So if you could come in and look, you can see that the next year after this was tied down, it started throwing fruit buds, which again are these little like thumb, fuzzy, pointy, more bulbous buds. All of these are fruit. All of these are going to blossom and then hold apples, which is pretty rad. So a lot of fruit tree growing is just like manipulating sunlight, manipulating the natural responses in the tree that you'll learn about over time to sort of like encourage it to do things that are more beneficial for you, whether that's like fruit over here where I can reach it, or maybe don't grow so tall because I'm just not that tall and I don't want to be on a 20-foot ladder. So there's different things you can do by training and pruning that give you manageable fruit trees. So with these long ones that are kind of too long and droopy and weak, anytime they start to go down, that's a good place to cut. So this one is pretty long, but I do see a fruit bud. Come here, let me show you what a fruit bud looks like. Fruit buds are these little fatty things that are sticking out like tiny thumbs, as opposed to those ones I showed you earlier that are the vegetative buds, which are triangular. That's not a good example here. Tight, triangles. Those are vegetative buds. Those are gonna grow into branches, whereas the little fatty fruit buds are going to turn into fruit. So wherever the branches kind of start sagging, we'll just snip it there, because that's about the carrying capacity that it can handle. So we just come in with all these little weak ones and shorten them a bit, and then ignore anything that's vigorous and upright, because we'll do that in winter.